Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to Al-Akhlaq Institute. Within this class, we're going to be learning Tajweed using the book called Hidayatul Mustafeed. So within the last class, we went through the introduction. ما حقيقة التجويد لغة واصطلاحا ما غاية علم التجويد ما حكم الشارع في علم التجويد. We went through all of this in the last class, and then we went through فصل في أحكام الاستعاذة والبسملة. That is the rules governing استعاذة and your basmala. استعاذة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, and then your basmala بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. We went through the rules governing each and every one of them, and then we talked about how to approach isti'adha when starting a surah, isti'adha and basmala when starting a surah, and then how to approach it when transitioning in between two surah. So today, inshallah, we're going to be talking about فصل في أحكام النون الساكنة والتنوين. So the rules governing a chapter concerning the rules of Nun Sakina and then Tanween. So moving on, the first question is النون الساكنة والتنوين كم حالة لها? So how many rules does the Nun Sakina and Tanween have? لها أربعة حالات الإظهار والإدغام والإقلاب والإخفاء. So Nun Sakina and Tanween, we have four rules there. We have Al-Izhar. Izhar means clear pronunciation. Then we have Al-Idgham, that is merging. We have al-iqlab, that is changing, and then we have wal-ikhfa, that is concealment. So we're going to talk about each and every one of them, and we're going to see the application within the Quran, and you know why each and every one of them have this meaning. You know why idhar means clear pronunciation, idgham means merging, iqlab means changing, and then ikhfa means hiding. So moving on, we said ما حد الإظهار لغة واصطلاحا. So what is the definition of إظهار linguistically and technically? So أما لغة فهو البيان وأما اصطلاحا فهو إخراج كل حرف من مخرجه من غير غنة. So linguistically إدغام means clarity. So as I said before, when we were talking about the أربعة حالات إظهار إدغام إقلاب إخفاء, I said إدغام means clear pronunciation. So looking at the definition too is also consistent here. Linguistically, it means clarity. Technically, so أما لغة فهو البيان. Linguistically, it means clarity. وأما اصطلاحا فهو إخراج كل حرف من مخرجه من غير غنة. So technically, it is pronouncing each letter from its point of articulation without ghunna. So you're not going to be using any ghunna. You're not going to be pronouncing any you're not going to be pronouncing your nun sakina. You're not going to be pronouncing your nun sakina or tanween with ghunna if you're reciting letters of Ishaq. So normally when you're reciting the Quran, most of the time, if you have nun sakina and another letter, example, min ba'di, min qablu, أن يقولوا. So these are different examples of nunu sakina and a letter coming after it. If when we have the letters of ishaq, as you can see from those other examples, each and every one of them, we have to do gunna. But izhar is the only one where you won't is the one where you won't do any gunna, and you pronounce each and every letter correctly. And I mean, you pronounce each and every letter clearly without any ghunna and without merging them, without hiding it or concealing it, without changing it. So every letter is pronounced clearly without any ghunna. So we're going to look into examples of this, and we'll know why we are calling ilhar we'll know why we're calling ilhar clear pronunciation. So I said كم حروف الإظهار وما هي. How many letters of izhar do we have and what are they? حروفه ستة وهي الهمزة والهاء والعين والحاء والغين والخاء. So we have there are its letters are six, and then we have uh hamza, ha, ain, ha, ghainun, and kha. So you can also find it in at the start of every letter within this poem. So you can find it في أوائل كلم نصف هذا البيت. You can find it on each and every letter of izhar within this poem. You can use this poem to recall the letters of al-izhar. So for example, instead of trying to memorize alif and hamza, ayn, ha'un, ghayn, kha'un, instead of trying to always recall it, you can just memorize a little poem. أخي هاك علما حازه غير خاسر. أخي هاك علما حازه غير خاسر. So once you memorize it, you just know that at the start of each word, أخي we have hamza, هاك we have هاء, علما we have عين, حازه we have حاء, غير we have غين, خاسر we have خاء. So each and every letters at the start of this poem is a letter of izhar. So moving on, we said ما أمثلة ذلك على الترتيب. So what are examples of this in order? So we have مثال النون عند الهمزة. That is we're going to start looking at examples. So the first one is an example of nun sakina with hamza. We have man amana. Man amana. As you can see, we don't have any gunna here, and each and every letter is pronounced clearly. The nun is nunu sakina. The nun is pronounced clearly. The hamza that comes after it is pronounced very clearly, and it will be very wrong if you hear someone saying man amana. That is wrong. So for huruful izhar, you close your noon, no gunna, no merging. You pronounce your noon clearly, and then you pronounce your huruful izhar that comes after your noon sakina or tanwin clearly. Man amana. And then we have um we have another example with tanwin. ومثال التنوين عندها. We have another example with tanwin. رسول أمين. رسول أمين. رسول أمين. رسول أمين. So each and every the the dhammatain, that is the tanwin, is pronounced clearly, and then the hamza that comes after it is also pronounced clearly. So وهذا مثال ما إذا كان حرف الإظهار والنون أو التنوين من كلمتين ومثاله من كلمة ينأون. So likewise, whether the letter of إظهار and nun or tanwin are from two words, and an example from a single word is ينأون. 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 So this one is an example of um, nunu sakina, and then a letter of izhar coming after it within a single word. The others, that is man amana. This we have man, a separate word, and then amana, another separate word. So this one is an example where we have an izhar within a single word. So it's not all the time that you find izhar examples in a separate word on its own. Sometimes it can come within the same word itself. So we said okay. ينأون. So ومثال النون عند الهاء. So we have an example of noon with هاء. We have in huwa. In huwa. In huwa. So each and every letter we're pronouncing them well. والتنوين عندها. So an example with tanwin, we have um جرفنها. 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 So this is an example of tanwin. وهذا في كلمتين ومثاله في كلمة. So this one was in two different words. So an example now of هاء, an example of إظهار with ha, but within a single word we have ينهون. ينهون. So as I said before, it's not all the time that you have two separate words. As an example of إظهار, in huwa is two separate words, then ينهون, this is a single word. ومثال النون عند العين. So we have إظهار, another example of إظهار where we have عين that comes after نون ساكن and tanwin. This is من علم. من علم. As you can see, the nun is pronounced clearly, عين is pronounced clearly, and then والتنوين عندها سميع عليم. سميع عليم. So uh, that is it. The same thing here. We just have more and more examples. وهذا في كلمتين ومثاله في كلمة ينعق سمت ومثال النون عند الحاء من حسنات والتنوين عندها عليم حكيم وهذا في كلمتين ومثاله في كلمة ينحتون. So we're just basically giving examples of izhar with all the letters. This one is it will start with nun sakina and then the letter comes after it. Then another example with tanween and then another example of um that letter within a single word. So وهذا في كلمتين ومثاله في كلمة ينحتون ومثال النون عند الغين that is another example for غين من غل والتنوين عندها عزيز غفور عزيز غفور. So وهذا في كلمتين ومثاله في كلمة and now um an example for غين within a single word فسينغضون فسينغضون فسينغضون. You cannot say فسينغضون. We don't have any tanween, so you pronounce everything clearly. فسينغضون. Then ومثال النون عند الهاء ومثال النون عند الخاء من خير. Then والتنوين عندها قوم قوم خصمون. So and then وهذا في كلمتين وهذا في كلمتين ومثاله في كلمة والمنخنقة والمنخنقة والمنخنقة. So that's it for al-izhar. We have looked at the examples. We know that izhar means to pronounce something clearly. We have looked at the examples and we have known why each and every one of them, each and every letter should be pronounced clearly. We have looked at examples for each letter within with nun sakina in separate words, within tanween in separate words, and then within a single word. So we're moving on to al-izhar. Al-izhar. So ما حد الإظهار لغة واصطلاحا ما حد الإظهار لغة واصطلاحا. So what is what is sorry ما حد الإدغام لغة واصطلاحا ما حد الإدغام لغة واصطلاحا. What is the definition of idgham linguistically and technically? أما لغة فهو إدخال شيء في شيء وأما اصطلاحا فهو التقاء حرف ساكن بمتحرك بحيث يصيران حرفا واحدا مشددا. So linguistically it means inserting one thing into another, while technically it means inserting a silent letter with a vowel letter such that they become one single double letter of the same type as the second, with the tongue lifting from them together in one motion. So that is the definition of al-izhar linguistically and technically. You shouldn't be confused by this. We're going to look into examples and then you properly understand what they mean, inshallah. So, كم حروف الإدغام وما هي? How many letters of idgham do we have? And what are they? حروفه ستة وهي مجموعة في قولك يرملون. We have 6 letters of idgham and then they are joined together with with this statement. You can all of them are within this single statement. يرملون يرملون. So each and every letter within this word يرملون is a letter of izhar. ياء we have ياء راء ميم لام واو النون. So إلى كم قسم تنقسم هذه الحروف. So how many how many sections can we how many sections can we separate these letters? So we have how many types can we separate these two letters? This this these letters of idgham. How many types do we have? We have 2 types of idgham. We have idgham naqis and idgham kamil. So all of them are within the same word, yarmaluna. So ila kam qismin, how many types can we separate these words from? إلى قسم ينقسم إلى قسمين. we have بغنة ويسمى إدغام ناقص، بغير غنة ويسمى إدغام كامل. So we can separate them into two. We have إدغام بغنة and إدغام بغير غنة. إدغام بغنة is also called إدغام ناقص. إدغام بغير غنة is also called إدغام كامل. So um إدغام ناقص, the letters of إدغام ناقص are فالياء والواو والميم والنون. ياء واو ميم and نون. Those are the letters of إدغام ناقص. And then ما أمثلة ذلك على الترتيب. So we're going to be looking at examples for each. أن يقولوا أن يقولوا أن يقولوا. So as you can see, we're merging the noon and ya'un together. أن يقولوا. Immediately you're putting your gunna, you're also pronouncing your ya'un at the same time. So another example with tanween. لقوم يؤمنون. لقوم يؤمنون. So uh that's another example. So we have idgham naqis, idgham kamil. We're talking about idgham naqis um right now. And we're talking about ya'un. We're talking about ya'un. We also have udammir rabbihim mim malja'i, mim malja'i, mim malja'i. This is another example of idgham naqis. udammir rabbihim, udammir rabbihim, udammir rabbihim, udammir rabbihim. Hudan wa rahma. Hudan wa rahma. As you can see here, we have Ghunna here. As we said before, there's idgham with Ghunna, and then there is idgham bi ghayri Ghunna. So this one we're talking about al-idghamu bi Ghunna. Hudan wa rahma. حطة نغفر لكم. حطة نغفر لكم. حطة نغفر لكم. حطة نغفر لكم. So these are examples of idghamu bi ghunna. And so we have apart from as we said, if it appears in separate letter, then it will be if you have nunu sakina and then a letter of idgham bi ghunna, that's mimun, nunun, yawun, and then wawun. If they appear in separate letters, you pronounce it with ghunna, and that will be called idgham bi ghunna. But in some cases, in some cases, they can appear within a single word. Therefore, it's not you're not going to pronounce it with ghunna. So all of these examples is when it appears in two different words. But if it appears in a single word like dunya, qinwan, sinwan, and bunyan, you're not going to pronounce it with ghunna. And then we move to idghamu bi ghayri ghunna. That's idghamu kamil. And then we only have two letters for idghamu kamil. That is lamun and then ra'un. So هدى للمتقين غفور رحيم من ربهم. All these things, these are idgham kamil. As you can see, it's also called idgham بغير غنة. As you can see from the pronunciation, when pronouncing it, we pronounce it without any غنة. So that's it for idgham naqis, idgham kamil. Moving on, we're moving to al-iqlab. So I said ما حد الإقلاب لغة واصطلاحا. What is the definition of إقلاب linguistically and technically? So أما لغة فهو تحويل شيء عن وجهه، وأما اصطلاحا فهو جعل حرف مكان حرف آخر مع مراعاة الغنة. So linguistically it means changing something from its original form. Technically it is replacing one letter with another letter while observing غنة. And then come حروف الإقلاب. How many letters do we have? How many letters of iqlab do we have? حروفه واحد وهو الباء. So we have one letter and that is باء. ما أمثلة ذلك? What are examples of this? We have مثاله عند النون من كلمتين من بعد من بعد من بعد من بعد. Then ومن كلمة, so this is in two different letters. من بعد, this one is in a single letter. ومن كلمة ينبت لكم ينبت لكم. So as you can hear from the pronunciation of Iqlab, he said Iqlab is changing something from its original form. So what are we changing? When you're pronouncing your noon sakina and then ba that comes after it, you will slightly change your noon to meme. So when you're saying mim ba'di, you close your lips. Not you not completely close your lips, but you leave a little bit of space. Then you pronounce it mim ba'di. So it will sound as if you are pronouncing mimun because you are, but not completely. Mim ba'di. And then that's why they call it changing something from its original form. You change the noon to mim ba'di. You change it to meme, and then you have your owner, and then you now pronounce your baun that comes after it. So another example, another example with tanwin, sami'un basir alimu bima kanu. So these are the example of iqlab with tanwin. So moving on to the last one, ما حد الإخفاء لغة وصلاحا. What is إخفاء linguistically and technically? الإخفاء لغة فهو الستر، وأما اصطلاحا فهو عبارة عن نطق بحرف ساكن عار عن التشديد على صفة بين الإظهار والإدغام مع بقاء الغنة. So linguistically, إخفاء means concealment. Technically, it refers to the pronouncing of a silent letter free from shadda in a manner that's in a manner between clear pronunciation and merging. So in a manner between it is something in between idgham. It is something in between izhar and idgham. So while maintaining ghunna in the first letter, which is known as sakina or tanween. So let's look at an application. Um, كم حروف الإخفاء? How many letters of إخفاء do we have? حروفه خمسة عشر. مجموعة في أوائل كلمة هذا البيت. We have 15 letters of إخفاء. You can find them at the first letter within this poem. So the first letter within this poem, you can find it there, and it's called صف ذاتنا كم جاد شخص قد سما دم طيبا زد في تقى ضع ظالما. صف ذاتنا كم جاد شخص قد سما دم طيبا زد في تقى ضع ظالما. So we have صاد ذال كاف, all the letters that comes at the start of each word within this poem is part of the letters of al-ikhfa. So um ما مثال ذلك. So what is an example of that? We have مثال النون عند الصاد من كلمتين. That is an example of إخفاء with نون الساكنة, and then صاد comes after it is عن صلاتهم عن صلاتهم عن صلاتهم عن صلاتهم. So as you can see, when pronouncing إخفاء, we're concealing the sound of, we're concealing our noon, and then we're pronouncing صاد. انصرنا قوما صالحين. So if you see noon sakina or tanween and any of the letters of ikhfa comes after it, صاد, ذال, ثاء, كاف, جيم, شين, قاف, سين, دال, طاء, زاي, فاء, هاء, ضاد, ظاء. If any one of these letters comes after nun or sakina or tanween, you pronounce it as ikhfa. So you conceal the sound of your nun, and then you pronounce the letter that comes after it. So that's it for the class, inshallah. In the next class we'll be talking about first of all ahkam mim sakina, and then if you have any question, feel free to comment, reach out. Assalamu alaikum.